Now, the nitty gritty behind this particular contract and we're at the table right now is basically the pension. And, you know, let me make this clear here that the operators are not opposed to, we want to be just like everybody else. We don't want to get treated differently. We don't have a problem with paying our own pension, despite what's being said. We don't have a problem with that, but we would like a fair swap just like everybody else had. The police, the fire department, and every other union within the city got a fair, even swap to help pay their own pension. Right now, the agency, the city, wants to offer us a 5.05 bump towards our pension to pay our own pension. But once we got our CPA to crunch the numbers, it's all negative. The agency / city wants you to believe that it's all cost neutral. The operators are taking home more money. They're going to be making $32 an hour. No, that's not the case. And over the last day, they've even admitted that the numbers don't add up, and there must have been some confusion. That our members will be making $1.10 less per hour on top of paying into their own pension.
Basically, you guys are in a lopsided power situation as far as the negotiations go due to that code. Well, how does it work? How does the mechanics of it work that you guys are on the lower end of that balance of power in negotiations?
Well, if you read Charter A8409, it really is no balance because the arbitrator, which comes into the play, arbitrator / mediator, who wears the same, he wears two different hats, same individual. I don't know how that comes out, but just reading, you really have to read A8409 in Prop G, and we want the public to really read that themselves and let them decide, is that fair? Let them decide. When the architects of Prop G put this thing together, they say, oh, it'll make everything fair. Well, actually, it's not. So in terms of having the union being powerful, the union is, we're struggling. We're coming into a negotiation, to a fight with our hands tied behind our back, basically. But the members have a chance to speak and have a chance to not go the extra mile, if you will, for the agency. So that's what that power is with them. I hope I answered that.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up to kind of get that clear. So basically, you guys walk into a negotiation. You guys walk into it. You have some things you want to ask. You want to get
proposals.
The SFMTA has some things that they're ready to, their own proposals, but in the way most unions work and the way most negotiations work, you have to find the balance between the two proposals, and the arbiter then decides what's fair between the two. But for you guys, the burden of proof is on the union to prove its proposals and the arbitrator. And how do you guys have to prove that to our arbitrator? And what do you have to do that the SFMTA doesn't have to do?
We have to show that it will not be costly to the agency. I mean, come on, inflation is going up. How can it not be costly? For one, we're asking for a raise. Okay, that's costly. For two, we're looking for restrooms. That's costly. For three, we're asking for parking, in which our members got to come in here first thing in the morning to pull out buses to get people to work and school and play, and then we're the last ones to leave the city, so we have no transportation if we don't bring a car. So we ask for parking, but that's a cost to the city, so it's a negative. And the arbitrator must side with the agency to make his decision if it feels it's going to be too much of a cost burden on the agency.
And that's not how police negotiations work. That's not how fire negotiations work. Muni in particular is hamstrung by this very particular code.
All SFMTA employees are basically up under the same deal. And you're absolutely right. I've been at 4 tables over the last couple months, and I've been negotiating. I've negotiated 2 contracts with non-MTA, and you're right. Negotiations was just that. Okay. We had to go to mediation, and the mediator said, no, why don't y'all talk about it first? So he came back, we came back with the city, and the city said, okay, you guys take that off, we'll take this off, y'all take that off, we'll take this off, we'll give y'all a raise, see you later. What? That's not the case with SFMTA.
Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the atmosphere out there with the people who are riding the bus. So we recently saw a BART strike, and I'm not saying again that necessarily that this is something that the folks being sick has anything to do with the union. I know you've been on the record saying that that isn't the case. But the atmosphere out there, did you take a read on the atmosphere after the BART strike? I mean, what would you say was the public's reaction to the BART strike?
Oh, definitely. It's unfortunate that, the table gets set to blame the worker. I mean, I thought we're in a period right now where the public, particularly the working class, were really understanding who was controlling the economics of this country, who were in charge of basically, our welfare, who was dictating everything. And it's unfortunate that the public can be swayed to think that it's the common worker's fault on any particular issues. When you put an individual into a certain situation and all they have is to fight to come up out of this situation, what do we expect for those individuals to do? When you look at the bargaining, what happened at BART, I mean, yes, it caused a lot of frustration. Yes, it did. But for those workers in that union putting forth having that ability to take a stand and understanding and having the empathy for the empathizing with the public to say, hey, we know this hurts, but guess what? We have a family too. We're trying to make a living as well. So the only way we can ring the bell is say, hey, this is unfair. So
do you think that the reaction from riders at Muni may be similar? Have you been feeling that pulse out there?
Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference because we've been drug over the coals for so long. It's like, it never stops hurting. So, how do you do that? But in reality, our members experience a totally different attitude with the regular riders. Of course you have those that are going to, no matter what we do, if we did everything right, it'd be wrong. But if you ask our members with the regular riders that they transport every day, the kids that they know that are going to be at a certain stop at a certain time, the mothers, the fathers, it's a different attitude. But we know we've got that 10, 20% who, no matter what we do, they're going to say that we're wrong. And we get that. And that's why we basically understand their issue, how they feel. We understand that. But we have to take a stand as well. We're important here, and we take our job seriously, and we should be treated as such.
And what do you think? Is there a way that you guys can impart your message to the Muni riders, if for that 10 to 20% who may not get it? What is it that they don't get? What do they need to? I mean, what do you think it is that stops them from empathizing with the union workers and with the folks who aren't able to afford living in the city anymore?
Well, for one, and if you're talking about particularly the transportation issues, they need to really challenge the agency on all the things that they tell them. May it be TEP, may it be their budget. Their budget has ballooned from 400,000 plus to over 800,000 plus, and the system is still not on time. And you still don't have enough employees on the ground to drive the buses, the old equipment that you have. So wait a minute, we're spending all this money, but you're not on time, you don't have enough people, and you don't have the equipment. Where's all this money going? Ask yourself these questions. Individuals that 10, 20%, they need to read the charter, 88409. And any person with common sense, any person with a heart, if you will, ask themselves, is that process fair? Ask them. Let them make that decision. We've already come to the conclusion on what's fair and what's not, based on the situation that we're in. I don't think we can ever change their minds of the 20% because people have their own mind made up. People, for whatever reason, our members, feel that, it's an attack on minorities. We are the biggest minority group in the city within this classification. We believe it's an attack on minorities. We truly believe it is.
We're in the Fillmore.
We truly believe it is. So, with all these positions open in the, we're majority minority, and we believe. You can ask just about any operator out there, Asian, Hispanic, African American, of how they feel towards what they think the public's issue is with us. Because we're making $60,000 a year, but you have to go to college for 4 years, and you're still not finished paying off that debt. But we're making a living, and you're struggling. Well, hey, come get a bus driver job if it's that bad.